start off with prayer. If you don't mind. Give Donnie back, say, brother. This is the New Life Recovery Show. It is truly, truly a blessing to be here. Can we start this thing off with prayer? Gracious Lord, we just say thank you, Lord, for another day. We thank you for this radio program. We ask that you bless New Life Recovery Show every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 12 noon. Bless the owner, the man who is for us to do this show. And we're home. We ask that you help us to speak life over our community, that we can bring healing, that we can talk about the trauma. We can talk about not just about substance abuse and alcoholism. There's so many things that plague our minds. And we promise, Lord, to give you all the praise and all the glory in your mighty matchless name. Yes, hallelujah. Ben, it's showtime. Hey, Ben, we live. We in here, man. New Life Recovery Show every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. This is our fearless leader. His name is Ben McCormick. Hey, Ben.
Yes, sir.
Take your hands off the computer. Step away from the computer. Hey, Ben, we here, man.
Yes,
we
sir.
are here.
Yes, sir. They don't know, bro. They don't know. Yes, sir.
Put your phone on mute. My phone is on mute. We won't have any interruptions.
Yes, sir.
Then what is tell us about New Life Recovery. How about that? Let's start with that.
So, a bit of background. New Life was conceptualized through a great deal of urging from others. This was not something that I wanted to do. I did not want to have another responsibility. I didn't want another job. At the time, I was very comfortable doing what I was doing back in 2018, which was being a general contractor and renovating houses, but in property managing. So I rented some houses to several other programs, which I won't name. I rented probably 9 or 10 houses to 3 or 4 other programs between 2015 and 2019. So I got a chance, Donnie, to see how mental health recovery programs worked. And to be quite honest, I was very surprised and very disenchanted with what I was seeing. And at the urging of some folks who know me, they kept saying, well, and because they knew I had lived experience, Donnie, let me let the audience know that tomorrow, God grant me life, tomorrow, May 7th, I'll celebrate 24 years clean.
Praise the Lord.
Yeah, thank you. That ain't nothing but God, because I can tell you, all the 7-Elevens and all the highs that are in existence, they happy that I'm clean today, because I used to go up in that. But anyway, so at the urging of some others who know me, they said, well, McCormick, you should start a program. You know how it is. They kept saying that, Donnie. You know how it is.
Oh, hold on, Ben. Why were they telling you that?
Because they knew I was a recovering addict.
But that don't mean you know how to run a program.
That's true. Well, you know what? I really can't answer why they were saying it's good. That's a good question. I never asked that question. I guess it was something that they saw in me in those moments where they thought I could do a good job. I guess.
Then is it possible that even in addiction, our leadership skills can still be on display?
I don't know if I call them leadership skills. I might call them survival skills, Donnie, that people can train.
Survival.
You're right,
Okay.
right. Yeah, yeah. So that's that's possible. That's definitely possible. You know, because even in that environment, you still got your leaders and your followers. You understand?
And we can't dismiss your training as a soldier.
Thank you. That's
We
right.
also can't dismiss your spectacular academic background.
Stop it. Stop it.
I'm just
These
telling you
folks,
what I know.
and I appreciate that, brother. I really do. So I was urged by a few other people who know me to start a program. So I looked into what was necessary to do that and the cost and all of that, Donnie. And I looked at the due diligence necessary and the financial that was required, and prayed about it. A short prayer, wasn't long enough. I should have made it a little longer. And we started the accreditation and licensure process in early 2019. So it took us about 10 months to get fully licensed, fully accredited, I should say, because that's the first. That's first. Fully accredited and licensed for IOP, which is individual outpatient program, PRP, which is psychiatric rehabilitation program, and OP, which is outpatient program. So we got accredited and licensed for those three initially in 2019. And it's interestingly enough, some of those programs that I told you I had rented houses to, they weren't operating in the houses correctly, and things happened where I had to get the houses back from those people because they weren't paying those agencies, because they weren't paying the water bill, or they were paying the rent late, um, or they were damaging the property inside and weren't repairing them per our agreement. So I started getting some of those houses back from those wonderful people. And when I opened up in January of 2020, I simply used two of the houses that I had gotten back from some of the organizations that were using them. So we opened up in January of 2020. We opened our doors, which is the just before the jump off for COVID. So we opened up in the COVID year down here. And I can tell you, many times from January, no, from March, early March to probably the end of 2020, I wanted to quit 4 or 5 times. And the reason I didn't, well, several reasons. One of the reasons why I didn't was because at that time, I had some staff. Wasn't a big staff, but I had staff. And I had began a payroll process, or I had people who were working who were expecting to be paid for their efforts. And by this time, Donnie had a men's house and a women's house. So we had a few clients, not a great deal of clients, but we had people who had started coming into the program and who had given New Life Recovery Center an opportunity to help them change. So as I began to talk to these men and these women, I began to feel like, okay, I can't stop, God. I can't. All right, God, because I was dealing with emotions. Some of it was, it was more money than I thought, and of course we were under the COVID strain, so it was a lot of stuff that I hadn't expected.
More money that had to be paid out than you expected.
Right. Yes. Yes. Because I was unfamiliar with it was Optum. I don't know if you're familiar, Donnie. So Medicaid pays through a third party entity, and every 5 years they give a new contract to a different entity. So when I came in, Medicaid was separating from the entity that they were using for the 5 years prior to me coming, and they were using a new animal called Optum, OPTUM. Don't buy any stock in them. So Optum took over, and let me just say, man. So they actually Optum has been taken over and changed. I'm sorry, somebody new is taking over right now, because they were doing so bad. So they came in Donnie, and they put brakes on a lot of stuff. They changed a lot of stuff right away. It was just a horrible, horrible financial and administrative experience. And because I didn't have a lot of knowledge in that area, um, it caused a lot of issues, man. And it made me feel like that Marvin song, "Make Me Wanna Holler, Throw Up Both My Hands."
You got a nice voice there, Ben.
Yeah. But because of my makeup, and because it took me so many opportunities to get clean, right? The thought, Donnie, of of quitting was tantamount to giving up on my recovery. So I couldn't quit. I couldn't quit. So it made me learn more quicker, right? It's a terrific learning curve when you coming from renovating houses, residential properties, commercial properties, to dealing with people, right? And I mean client and staff. It's a terrific learning curve. So, but here's what I can tell you, and I say this unpretentiously: God put in me what was necessary to navigate through those moments to get me to where we are right now, where we're talking to each other on the New Life Recovery Show here in 2024 in a hotel, with 100 rooms. So I'm grateful for the experience because, and I'm
hotel that you run.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm not a scriptural person, but God allows us to go through things to build our character.
So I want you to put a pin in it for a second. 24 years ago, how bad was it?
I'll give you an example. For some of the people who may be listening, I don't know if they remember the number 13 bus that used to run along North Avenue. I don't know if people remember, Donnie, the day pass that the MTA used to have, right? $3 day pass. It was so bad, Donnie. I would be on North and Greenmount in the morning between 7 and 8:15, almost like a job. And when people would come, when the bus would stop on North Avenue going westbound, I would run to the back door of the bus. Ask people, "Can I have your bus pass? Can I have your bus pass?" Because they're getting off work, or they're coming from wherever they're from. They're not gonna need their bus pass anymore. "Can I have your bus pass? Can I please, sir? Can I?" And I would collect a few bus passes, and I would run to the front because it got a line there. That's a popular stop, right? It always had a line of people, and I would say, "I'll say this bus pass for $1 because it costs $3 when you put your money in the meter." So all I needed, Donnie, was $3.
Damn right.
Because it was on Boone and 20th
with $3 joints.
They had $3 Ready Rock until 10 o'clock. They shut down like it was a job. They were there from 7 to 10. Had to catch them.
Jesus.
And I made a few trips to them boys from 7:30 to 10 o'clock, Donnie. That's how bad it was. That was in the morning time. And then I had the rest of the day to try and put a plan together to call somebody or go see somebody, usually somebody that I was related to, right? And formulate a lie or get with somebody, a co-defendant, and put together a scheme and try and get some more money to buy some more Ready Rock that day.
What about food?
What about food? Wait a minute. Let me. So listen. There is a soup kitchen called Manor House on Barkley and 25th Street.
Oh my God! There's a dope hole at Barkley and 24th.
I would go to Manor House.
There was.
and eat breakfast sometimes, but I knew they was open. So if I was in between missions, I ain't walk up there. If I wasn't, because my stomach was growling for 5 days ago, I would manage to walk up to, because it wasn't a far walk. And here's the thing about drug use. So I found myself in a group and in an area where it was other drug users. And somebody always knew where you could go get whatever you needed. It's almost like, so it's sort of like in a 12-step program, but in reverse. Somebody knew where I could go get something to eat while the soup kitchen was open. Somebody knew where the cheapest Ready Rock was in those specific time frames. Somebody knew where the testers of dope was, what time them boys was coming out.
You had a dope habit too?
No, I didn't have a dope habit, but I would go where the boys went to get the testers of dope.
Oh, to get a free tester and you sell it.
And I would trade it for some Ready Rock. I ain't had time to go to sleep, Don. I need to be awake. And that's
Did you ever think it couldn't stop?
So many days of being in somebody's basement, didn't even know the homeowner or the renter, didn't have any idea, didn't have a clue, didn't care. They allowed me to come in that space and do my thing. So after having those notions and that behavior for many years, even after Donnie having periods of sobriety, 90 days, 6 months, 9 months, I think the longest I had was 14 months of sobriety, but I wasn't doing anything for the spirit, right? So in those 14 months, every day I was talking to the last person that I got high with, and that was me, right? So I didn't put any work in between the last time and the 14 months. So when the idea came one Friday afternoon, like Johnny Kemp, I had just got paid. I had a notion. The disease tapped me on the shoulder and said, Vent, man, go around there and show them how good you look, right? And because I hadn't done any work.
Is that a common mistake?
Yeah.
It's a common mistake by addicts.
That's right. Go around the old way.
Get a little bit of free time.
Yeah.
And you forget the basic rule, which is people, places, and things.
That's right. Mm-hmm. And I didn't need to go around there. I ain't need to see them, and they need to see me. But again, if I don't do any work to change the way I think, I'm always gonna think there's nothing wrong with that.
Because the truth is, when you go into those 12-step meetings, those rooms, you don't know what to expect. You just see people who you have seen in the streets, maybe, but what you do notice, Vin, they look different.
Yeah. They're healthy, Donnie. Some of them got their teeth back. Their weight came back.
They got on new clothes.
Wait a minute. They
clean.
If they ain't new, they clean.
Clean clothes.
Yeah, ain't no blood stains. You know what I mean? Yeah, they different. And that's the shot right there. You ain't even really got to hear them. You walk in there, and 9 times out of 10, you're gonna see somebody that you recognize. That's Baltimore. You're gonna see somebody, man, I remember that. Ain't that the dude I kind of, man, wait, no, that ain't him. You don't believe your eyes. And then if you get a chance to have a word with them because they see you, right? They see you, and they be like, man, yeah, man, and you be like, I thought you was locked up. No, I've been in fellowship, right? And there's different ones. I've been in fellowship, man. It's been 9 months now. 9 months, man. I remember last time I saw you, we was at the table. I know, man. I surrendered, right? And But yeah, man, that's the shot of hope before you necessarily hear somebody at the podium. You see somebody that you recognize, man, and that's your shot of hope, Don. And that happened for me. That happens for a host of people because it's better to see a sermon than to hear one. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, but yeah, I've just seen. Is that your guest coming on?
No. This is Mike Randolph. Mike, I put a link in there. We want you to come say hello. This is our debut show, our premiere show, our maiden voyage. Mike Randolph used to be an advocate in Sandtown, but a community down in Florida stole him away. But this is his way of staying connected to Baltimore. He checks in and chimes in on the show. Now, we have another person coming at the midway point. So you told us how it was. And you told us how bad it was. What was your first, and tomorrow, you're celebrating 24 years, no rock, dope, coke, liquor, nothing, weed, nothing. When did you get that glimmer? I gotta share this with you. I heard a preacher say one time, it was a preacher, he was burning it up. And I'm still struggling at the time myself. But this preacher, the sermon, his voice just caught me, and I heard him say it. He said he got one glimmer of hope, and that carried him forward. I'm trying to remember, I don't remember what, but it was the way he described that moment of clarity. What was that moment for you then?
So, my moment of clarity. So, I don't know if this is good for the show.
Right? Sure it is. It's the truth, and that's what we deal with here.
So, I'm going to share this, right? I'm going to share my moment of clarity, Donnie, which was my last day getting high, which is May the 6th, 2000. That's why the next day is my clean date, the following day. So May the 6th, 2000, I was in a house in East Baltimore. It's no longer there. It's been leveled. I was in the house in East Baltimore with some other folk. I was in a bedroom with two other people, a man and a woman. I had some crack in front of me, and I was smoking crack. The couple was on the other side of the mattress. I'm on one side of the mattress, they're on the other side of the mattress with little tables, milk crates stacked up for your table. They were shooting dope. Now, I had never watched that process.
No?
I never, because I didn't care, right? I never watched that process. This particular day, Donnie, after getting high for 12 years, I, for some reason, took the time to watch that process.
Of shooting, of pouring the dope in a spoon?
Yes. Pouring the water in the spoon, heating the spoon
water,
up with
the lighter.
Yes. The whole process, Donnie. Drawing up.
Did they use a piece of cotton or a cigarette filter?
The filter, yeah.
And he stuck the needle in the filter.
That's right. And drew it up.
The dope.
Yeah.
Then they rolled the sleeves up.
And wait a minute. And they argued for about 3-4 minutes about who was going to hit who first. So after
past memories come in. You missed me last time. I missed you I missed the vein. That's what I'm talking about. The vein.
So of course, the female won the argument, and he had to hit her first. So I watched him hit her, which is pushing it in slightly, drawing it back, pushing it in. I watched the whole thing down.
The back and forth thing.
Watch the blood go in
to the needle.
Yeah, man. I watched the whole thing down. The first time ever. And I had people around me years shooting dope. I was my tunnel vision kept me on my ready and my stem, right? This particular day, and I can't explain why. I didn't care, but I took the time to look.
It was almost like God saying, "So you think you know something? You think you done seen something? Let me show you something, young man."
I years after I had a revelation as to why he showed. Not even years later, not very long after, I realized why I took the time in this moment to view that process. So once he had pushed it fully in her arm, Don, I watched this girl's reaction.
Oh, she went back.
She went back almost. She didn't even go fully back. She went back and held it and held it. Then after a couple more minutes, she stood up and she leaned over real slow, Donnie, almost to a perfect 90 degrees.
So she was.
You gonna give us some animation? Yeah, just like that, bro. And she ain't tilt all the way over.
Weebles wobble, but they don't fall down.
I watched that whole thing and I said to myself, damn, I wonder how that feels. So what I did was I looked down at my little pile, right? And I put the biggest boulder that was sitting in front of me on my stem. Because I wanted to see if I could feel like that. Now, it wasn't gonna make me stand up and bend over 90 degrees, but I wanted to feel like that. So I did that.
So you thought.
So I thought. And I did that. And so the day went on, long story short. I ran out, they put me out. I ended up going to a meeting. May the 6th, Greenmount Avenue. I went into a meeting. I say this this way. I went into a meeting, Donnie, in the afternoon of May the 6th, 2000. And I have not left the meeting as of this moment. You understand that? Right? Right. So what I understand, right? God allowed me to see that process because he was saying, if you mess up again, it's a good chance you can be shooting dope, boy.
I'm glad you didn't. Listen, we've just been joined from Tampa, Florida by Mike Randolph. Mike, you've been listening to the show. Welcome to New Life Recovery.
I like it. As you know, I was a former heroin addict, so I can definitely identify. From Baltimore.
Okay.
So, yeah, definitely.
Brother Mike, nice to meet you, man. Thank you for coming on the New Life Recovery Show. I really appreciate it because as I hear from Donnie, you could have been doing anything else that you wanted to do.
I sure could have, but for the grace of God. And for me, my way to recovery was stop hating myself and start hating the drug. Once I start hating the drug, it became personal. So every time I even think of drugs, I become that type of thing. Instead of punishing myself and beating myself up, I psychologically begin to say, no, it's the drug. Hate the drug and not hate yourself. But it's not easy, man. And Danny, know a lot of our friends didn't make it. A lot of our friends are still out there. A lot of what that lady Bush used to say, just say no.
Yeah.
Just say no. That was one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard when it comes to an addict.
Right.
Hey, listen here, gentlemen. We've just been joined by Dr. Stacy Eady. She's a pediatrician. Then this is our scheduled midday guest. Dr. Eady, welcome to the show. This is New Life Recovery Show. Vin is our fearless leader. Vin, we have a 110 room hotel here?
So it's 100 rooms, Donnie, in this present location. Good morning, Dr. Eady. Good afternoon, rather. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate that. So we have 100 rooms, Donnie, in the present location that we're operating out of currently. And around early December, I'll get the hotel that's next door. That's an additional 50 rooms, God willing.
And Dr. Edie, we're in the 100 block of St. Paul Street, just across the street from the courthouse.
Amazing.
And what high school did you go to, Dr. Edie?
I attended Western High.
That made him chuckle because he and I met up on Cold Spring and Falls Road back around 1979 ourselves.
Okay, Polytechnic Institute.
Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely.
Dr. Edie, go ahead and plug your event. What do you have coming up? Hey, Ben, you know what Sunday is?
I do not. Please enlighten me.
Sunday is Mother's Day.
Oh, okay. Look, if my mother was on here, she'd be like, "Boy, you don't know what." I wasn't thinking. Because I be thinking business so much. Donnie know I think business all the time. So I'm thinking it's a business thing. But okay, on a personal level, yeah, Mother's Day. I did know that.
So she thinks business all the time too. But what she's about to tell us about is kind of, I guess, a ministry in a sense, Doc.
Yes. Well, just kind of pulling from the book, Maternal Instinct, Raising Black Sons to Thrive. We're having our second annual Maternal Instinct Mothers of Baltimore Empowerment Brunch. And we're just trying to have, a good time, have mothers out, have some good energy. And we just want to celebrate sisterhood and empowerment and the invaluable roles that mothers play every day. And we're having a dynamic speaker, Dr. Lonnie's Bias. I'm sure you all remember. She's the mother of the late Lynn Bias of the 1980s. And she's going to have a powerful word. She wants to speak on the best is yet to come. So just an event, second year, just wanting to bring mothers of Baltimore out, something positive in the light of Mother's Day for us to get together. But also, it's not excluding anyone else. So it's not just for mothers, grandmothers, it could be fathers, whoever wants to attend. But it's going to be a word, and it's going to definitely be beautiful. It's at the beautiful Ampersea located. So we're going to have the ambiance. We're going to have the guest keynote speaker. And we have a lovely corporate sponsor, which is Chesapeake Telemedicine, which has allowed us to enhance our event just a little bit more this year. So I'm looking forward to it. If you know any mothers that are interested, please let them know. If you have any mothers that would like a ticket but just can't afford that ticket price, just let me know or let Donnie know, and Donnie will let me know, and I'd like to bless someone.
That's wonderful. And what time is that, Doc?
11:30 to 2:30, and I'd like to give one of your listeners, two of your listeners tickets. I don't know if you were able to get the link out earlier. Were you able to grab that for the persons earlier?
So I'm putting up the information now, Doc. But then we do have spots for 2 people, and I'm willing to share that with anyone who listens to this broadcast. Dr. Edie is also a pediatrician. And one thing she and I were talking about earlier today, then, which is so relevant to the work that you do. Dr. Edie, any thoughts on, because we talked about this, any thoughts on addiction and what you as a pediatrician, but also as a parent, your thoughts on, and this is May, besides your birthday month, happy belated birthday, but it's also Mental Health Awareness Month.
That's right.
And Ben, for Ben, this show is more than just about alcohol and substance abuse. Well, you tell her, Ben, tell her what this show is about.
So our general theme for this show, Mr. Randolph and Dr. Edie, is mental health. I didn't want to do a show on drugs or substance abuse. I didn't want to. That's too, so, and I'm sure you could attest to this, Doc, through training and education, that's just a symptom of mental health. So I wanted to have a broader show, and we could talk about, because I've been, I don't know if Donnie shared this, I'm also licensed for gambling. So we've had quite a few people. I think I got a license about a year ago, a little more than a year ago. I've had quite a few people to call us and come in through outpatient who have spent their mortgage money and their tuition money and their car payment money at Live and at the Horseshoe. And
Ben,
many,
I did not know this, and I'm glad to learn this.
yeah, and many we did have discussed that's fine. And many of the quite a few of them felt like because they had spent their mortgage money, couldn't tell their wives or their husbands or
They're
their parents'
suicidal.
occupation, they wanted to commit suicide.
Suicidal, damn right.
And so that's one of the big reasons why it was very important for me to have a broader discussion about mental health, because people don't think about that, right? There's a gentleman about 2 weeks ago, and I'm going to tell you about this, Donnie, because it's somebody locally went to school with me, and I found out he DM'd me and told me that he has a gambling issue, and he has a really good job. One of his engineer with one of the premier companies here. He does a lot of sports betting on his phone in the car while his wife was at the grocery. He told me he was at Walmart or Sam something when his wife went inside and they had just had an argument because he spent, I think, $1,500 and they were supposed to go to some other bill, and he promised her he wouldn't spend any more money. This was just last week, and she went inside the store and he went and hit his credit card and betted on something and lost, and so he confided in me for treatment. And so sports betting is bringing a whole new cast of clients as they have legislated and made it comfortable and cool. So I needed to make a broad form.
And let's put it out there, Vin. Doc, you know better than me. Does gambling touch Black people more than other people?
Well, it touches everyone. It's like he said, it is a part of. It's an addiction. It is an addiction, but sometimes you're filling the gap of something else. It may be a feeling. It could be, it could be anxiety. It could be depression. It could be many different things. So, addiction is real, whether it's alcohol, whether it's drugs, but mental health is the core of many things, including just regular medical problems such as diabetes and everything. It is the core. It's who we are. It's how we feel. It makes our heart race. It makes our heart decrease. Your blood pressure and all of that just based on the feelings that you have, and it can take your life, like you said, just in that moment. And sometimes we don't always get that moment of someone reaching out. They just go ahead and take it in their own hands. And sometimes you never knew that it was something going on. Sometimes when patients come in, especially during the pandemic, when teenagers came in, the things that teenagers would kind of tell me in front of their parents or not in front of their parents were things that people just never asked. No one ever asked them. They never asked, how are you feeling? They were never asked, how are you? You're okay. We talk about your grades are D's and E's, but let's talk about the grades. Let's talk about how you're feeling. What's holding you back from those grades? And when they start to talk about that, it opens a whole new world. And you're sitting there and the parents crying because they're finding this out in the room with me. They didn't even know, and they're living under the same roof with their child is suffering in silence.
You know what? Oh, I'm sorry. Please.
That was it.
You know what I found out, Doc? It's interesting that you're on the show because, and Donnie didn't tell me, but that's fine. I didn't know.
Bring me a show, Doc. You have already blessed this beyond Vin's imagination.
So Doc, here's what I want to share with you. In this space that I'm in right now, I have 100 rooms. Probably the occupied rooms probably is maybe 65, 68, something like that. And then the majority of those rooms, Doc, I have women and children, right? Ages 6 months to about 14 years old, right? Now, here's what I learned in having this, being down here in this space for about a year, because I've got recovery houses also in East and West Baltimore. This is a new animal and a new challenge and a new blessing, all of those. Here's what I learned, Doc. I learned in a year that the children of the men and women who are here in this hotel right now for mental health treatment, the children themselves are suffering some sort or some measure of trauma, because many of them they're going from pillar to post or from the shelter. And for them, it's
They need
traumatic.
therapy too.
And I never thought that, Doc. So I say that to you, Dr. Edie, because it's a very, very good possibility that you and I need to converse beyond the 1 hour slated show.
Absolutely. And there's something called the ACE. And if you look it up, it talks about trauma. And I don't have the information in front of me, so I don't want to just kind of ramble. But if you look it up, there's a score, and it gives you a trauma score based on your experiences of life. And that
a trauma score.
Yeah, it's a whole scoring system based on what things you suffered in life.
Well, damn, I'm scared to go look at that. What about you, Mike Randolph? You know your trauma score?
You're trying. No,
Don't know, but it will probably be a high score. But I do have a question for the doctor related to PSTD. I hope I'm pronouncing it right.
PTSD.
And it affects on especially young African male men and females in the city. And does it lead to violence? And can it be explained for the increase in violence, especially among Generation Alpha?
I believe so. I would definitely, I don't know the research on it, I'm sure. And if somebody's not doing it, I don't know why it hasn't been done. But I'm sure that PTSD leads to violence and other behavior issues as well. I'm sure of that. I would definitely bet on that. And that I quote, I told Donnie earlier about a young cousin that I lost in the streets of Baltimore. And just an example of trauma that young kids, based on what they've seen and the PTSD and the way they react to things, I gave a quote that someone who was in the vicinity where he was killed reported that a young child had been, oh, he didn't make it. And the young child said, oh, he didn't make it, was because he said, oh, the ambulance turned his lights off down the street. I don't even know that as an adult. I don't understand that protocol. But why does a 7-year-old understand and said it so matter of fact that it must have happened enough that it doesn't even affect him when he says it?
Numb.
It's much a part of life.
Numb.
Of his life. Yeah.
Doc,
So
we didn't know we were gonna get all of this from you. Thank you.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah,
real.
thank you, Doc. Thank you.
Doc, how can people get in touch with you?
Well, I'm on, for the book, I'm on IG under Maternal Instinct, the book. And I contacted for my business. I'm available on www.peds, that's PEDSINA pod.net. So
Okay, one more time. PEDS.
IN.
IN is in Nancy.
Mm-hmm. And APOD.
Oh, Peds in a Pod.
Yes. .net.
.org. .com.
NET.
Or .net.
Yes.
Let's put this up on the screen for you.
And the office 410-285-5437.
Pedsinapod.net.
485. You down in Dundalk, Doc?
That's right up. Well, my zip code is Highlandtown, but yes, I am.
Okay. I asked because I'm a native Dundalkian.
Okay. All
Actually,
right.
for me, I should say, let me give it to you. I'm a native Turner Statian.
Oh, now, I mean, with my sorority, our chapter, that's our community. Yeah.
Really?
So for
Wow.
Omega
Yeah.
Alpha Kappa sorority. So that's a community near and dear to me.
Me
What's
too.
that phone number again, Doc? One more time. The phone number.
410-285-5437.
Good deal. Mike Randolph, if anybody wants to get in touch with you down in Florida, what's your number?
Certainly, 813-857-7657.
One more time.
813-857-7657. I do have a quick question though. Is there a difference between mental health between males and females? And if so, what's the difference between mental health? And this goes to both of the guests that's on the show related to mental health. Is there a difference between male and female when it comes to mental health? Or is it an equal protection type of thing where everybody feels the same?
Well, from a medical standpoint, it's never been broken down into sex, but because they break it down based on the DSM-4, and that is like the Bible for mental health. So they break it down based on symptoms and diagnoses, and that goes, for every different diagnosis, whether it's bipolar, anxiety, depression. There are certain key things that have to be there. So technically, in DSM-4 that separates sex.
So I can give a little bit of the clinical part to that, Ms. Randolph. The ASAM criteria does not distinguish between male and female in terms of when you do an assessment. There's no distinction between male and female questions and answers. It's just the same question is asked of each sex. At best, there's a difference in age. When it comes to ages, there's a quantified age bracket. I think it's up to 60 or 65, and then, but not in terms of sex, as I understand it.
Great.
So, Mike Randolph, Dr. Edie, we want to thank you for joining us. And we're on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 12 noon. And you have to come back and join us again.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Danny. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you for being on.
Thank you, Mr. Randolph. Thank you, Doc.
So Vin, not a bad first day, huh?
Not at all, bro. Not at all.
You might even have picked up a pediatrician, and because we have to make sure that we cover the holistic, the comprehensive.
Well, here's what I'll tell you.
Aspect of addiction.
And I'm glad we have this format and this forum to share this with, because operationally, Donnie, we have, and I know you know this, but I share this with the audience. We have a nurse that's on duty every day, Monday through Friday, and we have a doctor that comes in every other week, unless he needs to come in, which he will. But we have a schedule that he's, of course, just like any other doctor. We get an assessment done. We know that person has to see the doctor, our doctor, because many folk who are who are suffering from mental health and are exhibiting that mental health through drug use, I'll say it that way, they haven't seen a doctor in a long time, right? So one of the things that we realize is that it may be some things that you have an issues with that you won't know that you have the issue with until you stop smoking or drinking or shooting or snorting, right? You won't know that till the drugs are no longer in your system, which takes about up to 35 days, 45 days, depending upon what kind of marijuana you're smoking. The opiates come out a little quicker than that, probably a week, right? So once we get that stabilized, right, we get you in front of our medical doctor. He looks at you, takes some, we take blood and urine, right? We want to know what's going on with you. And sometimes we need to put your diabetes in check. Sometimes we need to put your hypertension in check. So those sort of things. Sometimes we need to put your Hep C or B in check, right? We want to get you streamlined as quickly as possible once you no longer have the substance in you. So our doctor comes every other week. We want to get you psychologically assessed, right? As soon as possible. We do that within the first week that you're here also, because again, we got to let the drugs come out you, right? We want to get you medically stabilized, right? And then we want to get you psychologically assessed, because it's possible, I won't say a very good possibility, but it's possible that you're suffering from a mental health issue that you didn't know of, that caused you to go pick up decades ago, right? Outside
or
of
trauma.
I was getting to that. Outside of a traumatic experience, right? Because sometimes, Donnie, it's the trauma that takes people to an external source to stuff that. Sometimes it's trauma, sometimes it's bipolar, sometimes it's schizophrenia, sometimes it's manic depression. There's something, right? So if we move the trauma piece out of the way, which we can deal with later through therapy, and if it's something psychological that we can get managed through medication, we're able to assess that and put that medication in place. So now you start taking a medication that you've never taken before, which is new experience. We've given you the information. We've given you the prescription. We're going to fill the prescription. Now you need to start regimenting that newly in your life, right? Because this is a shameless plug. It's about getting you to a new life, right? So you got to start taking those medications, right? Because that's what you and I, or the client and the doctor, the client and the therapist have determined is what's needed for them to have the best health.
All right, Ben, I want to shift gears for a second, because people tend to look at me a lot about, get my thoughts or insight on business. Tell me about running a recovery center from a business perspective.
So I'll say this, Johnny. It's interesting that you asked that question. People think that it's a lot of money in running a recovery program. And I say that, Donnie, and you and I have talked about this, and you know this, I believe, yourself. There's a lot of us out here that are doing that, right? It's a lot of us doing a lot of recovery programs within the Baltimore city limits. I don't know the number. My chief development officer ran the numbers down to me just over the weekend. I think she said maybe 1,500 within Baltimore City, not the county, within Baltimore City, right? A program of some sort, mental health or substance abuse. A lot of people think that it's easy and it's quick money. What I will tell you, right, because a lot of them have started, Donnie, since I opened up and folded up. And I believe, this is my perspective, right, through observations and just knowing people. Many people, Donnie, they put the money over the mission, right? If you put the money over the mission, eventually you're going to shut down. You're going to make a little money, right? But in the long run, you ain't going to sustain that, because people and the things that come with they're emotional people. So there's a lot of cases that people will frustrate you because you're trying to help them get clean. They want to get clean. So you cast them aside. So what I understand is, and I'm not hyping myself up because I'm a recovering addict, but I can tell you that characterization helps me tremendously in dealing with my fellow addict.
How
right?
so? How so?
Because, well, first and foremost is the identification piece of where they at, Don. I know what it's like to have been slept on the street. I know what it's like to be in a recovery program. I was in 12 treatment centers / programs before I got clean this time. 12.
How many?
12, a dozen.
Did you get put out of any?
I didn't get put out of any. I finished them all. That was the problem. When I finished them, right? I thought, okay, I finished this program. I just got to use a different way. Right? That was my thinking. I told you, if you don't do any work to change your thinking, it's just a matter of time for you to go back to doing what you was doing. So from a business perspective, first of all, treatment in Baltimore is needed, right? That's not saying enough. It's got to be the right treatment program. It's got to be the right group of individuals at the top running things.
And they can't be doing it just for the money.
You can't do it for the money.
Just for money. You got to make profit, but it can't be just because that'll wear out. And I'll tell you, in the work that I do in media, people see it, oh, I want to do it, I want to do it. And I'm like, no, you don't. You see this. You don't see what goes into making this happen.
Right.
Got to have gas and electric.
Right.
Got to have a computer. Got to have a phone. Got to have peace of mind.
Right.
How much does peace of mind cost? Where they sell that at?
It's priceless, but you got to get it.
Because if you don't have no peace of mind, how can you function?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
one of the things that I realized in doing it the way that I do it, I do a lot of things, and you and I talk about this, Donnie. I do a lot of things that I don't necessarily get compensated for through Medicaid or Medicare, right? So Medicaid, Medicare, they don't compensate you for feeding the clients. And I Instacart food to my houses every week to supplement what they aren't able to get with their food stamps. I have bought, but I'm fortunate enough and blessed enough to have relationships with some churches that provide clean underwear for my men and my women, because it feels so good to be able to put some clean drawers on after you've been on the street, man, the same stuff for 2 weeks, right? It's a good feeling to do that, right? So Medicaid, Medicare don't compensate you. Aetna doesn't either. Blue Cross Blue Shield, they don't do that. They only pay me and other programs like ours to sit them in group and be talked to by the counselor to learn about their disease, right? But there's a lot of other living components that come with that. They don't pay me to house these people. I learned very quickly, if you're not in a safe space, when you're not in treatment, you're going to run out the door and you're going to use, right? So we try our very best to provide safe living environment for our clients so they can cover better, or they can receive the information better, I should say it that way. And there's no, well, there is, I'm sorry, I digress. Medicaid will pay you for residential treatment. You got to file for that license, stuff like that. But initially we weren't. So we've always had housing. We weren't getting reimbursed for it because I didn't have a license. So anyway, there's a lot of stuff that goes into treating the issue and the person that you're not going to get refunded from. But you got to do it because it's the right thing to do, right? I'm not the best program in the Baltimore City. I can tell you that my whole heart and the passion that allowed me to get 24 years tomorrow, because I believe you're going to do it, is about treating people right and getting them to see that they can be better than they were.
This has been our first show. My name is Donnie Glover, here with Ben McCormick. If you are interested in learning more about New Life Recovery Center, just go to that website, newliferecoverycenter.org, 240-253-3663. And we will see you on Wednesday, 12 noon, right here online. Ben, I am so proud of our first broadcast.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone.